approximately 45 minutes.
I'm Jeremy.
Here, see?
Hey Scott, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So yeah, let's do introductions quick. Tom McKee, we know each other.
See ya.
Yes.
My name is Jeremy Nichols. I joined the council in December of 2020.
Alan Schultz, I joined the council September 2019. No, well, older than that. I don't know. 4 years this year.
Come to me. Dean Bergkamp, appointed by these guys in September last year. Prior to that, year and a half in the planning commission here in town, and then prior to that, 20 years in the government, city government over in Maple Grove Planning Commission.
Oh,
I'm John Bodema. I've been on the city council for 6 years.
So you're a long timer.
I'm the grizzled veteran.
Okay, so we'll just get right into the questions, and all of that will go around the room. First one is, please tell us what interests you about this position and highlight key qualifications that make you the best person for this job.
So what interests me about this job is, in 2015 I moved to the Long Lake branch. I worked in Long Lake, I moved to Corcoran in 2015. I moved here because I liked the ability to have some larger land. I moved in with the girlfriend at the time at St. Louis Park in 2014. A year later, she was my wife, and we moved here. This community is very important to me. I try doing the most I can with the community related to corporate fees and attending those, and spending money locally as much as possible to support the small businesses that we do have in the downtown area. I feel I'm most qualified because I have extensive knowledge of many things. I did start off my city administrator career in the city of Clarkfield. Not having a whole lot of staff, you kind of have to wear many hats. We had at that time police department, fire department, we had a city-owned care center, HRA had affordable housing, the EDA owned 16 two-bedroom apartments for housing stock. So managing all that, you learn a lot when you're the go-to person. In Long Lake, we have a fire department that serves the area. I'm sure the mayor's mentioned a couple times on the district conversations, and we serve Orono, Minnetonka Beach, some of Medina, and all of Long Lake. There's some districts who talk with that, so I feel that's very important that I have some value added as far as future conversations with that. Wearing all these hats allows me to be pretty universal. I know you guys going through your tower expansion, getting utilities to the area. Long Lake is fully hydrogen, so we have we have no wells, we have everything online. So I'm part of road projects. You are always considered utilities and how to pay for them, and how to financially move towards the future, make sure all those projects can be afforded. But yeah, ultimately this community has some of the best staff. It has a strong council, and being part of it, would be very important to me because I could grow with the community. I know they get went through a lot of expansion right now and developments, and I feel I could fit in the need with the staff and support levels, and have general knowledge of many things that help the council make decisions too.
Could you please describe your most challenging situation you've had with interacting with the public and how you handled it?
Well, currently the one that is the biggest issue that we're going through is the fire department contract that we have. If you don't know about it, Orono is deciding to start their own fire department. Long Lake has a 105-year-old fire department. We are looking at joining a district, which is one option, contracting with Wayzata or Orono, or starting our own, or keeping our own, but financially we cannot support our own fire department. So that's going to be a really tough issue with the public, I believe, but I think once the time comes, we're gonna be able to explain to them, you know, ultimately, what does that look like if you want to have your own fire department, your tax levy will have to almost double. And, the second part of that is the membership of the fire department. You know, we need those guys showing up for the phone, for fire calls, so we wanna keep them happy too as much as possible, which more than likely is going to have to be contracted with the city of Cornell. And, it's more yet to come, because we're running against the clock. 2025 is in the contract, but this stream conversation is going to take longer than that. And, I'm getting the council to start looking at what they want out of the separation, knowing that we own 50% of one of the buildings, and, we can maybe get some free contracting meters out of that, would be beneficial to the long way. We're not going to completely blow it apart. I can't justify blowing apart the fire station, losing members and years of service and their pension and all that stuff. It just would not help anybody to be, not willing to negotiate, so.
I'm super familiar with that conversation.
Good. Hopefully it's not so much a rumor, you know, because there's lots of things.
No, I'm familiar with the facts from the very beginning about it.
Perfect. I like the facts. There's been lots of rumors.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
That is a challenging conversation. I agree.
Yeah, it's not gonna be fun, but you know, I have to look out for everybody.
Kind of a two-part question here, quick. Scott, describe how you would build trust with the city council, and then I'll ask the next question.
Sure, you know,
And staff.
and
but
staff.
I'm just saying staff.
yes. I am a very, I'm an outgoing person. I can talk to anybody, and you know, one of the ways I would want to build trust is let me know who I am, know about my history, you know what my, you know, I didn't answer any question that you would have. So, related to that, yeah, I would trust you with everything. And with that fact is, you know, on the staff level, I would want to, let them ask me questions as much as wanting to get to know about them. I know a handful of staff members already, way before even moving here in 2015. So, do I know, you know, some stuff that's going on in this community? Absolutely, because I'm kind of a nerd and read minutes and stuff like that too, because, you know.
Sorry.
I know, right? Especially when they're going to amendment, right?
Yeah.
But, no, I just want, you know, on the backside, that is, if I'm hired, I want to prove everything I say in this meeting is actually how I operate, that I work really hard, I show you that I work really hard, I work for you, you know, because that's ultimately the job is take the vision of the council and make it work. And so, it's not saying it's easy, but you know that things can be accomplished, and I think that just goes both ways, that you trust myself and staff as much as we can trust the council.
Okay. The secondary question, how would you guide or refocus us in the midst of a meeting if we get off track? How would you herd the cats, so to speak?
Well, it depends if the cats won't listen. No,
Yeah.
no. I think maybe the easiest would be is, you know, do council members, you know, you get to go to the training sessions that the league usually puts on. You can usually get your Robert's Rules of Order if you choose to follow those, you know. Sometimes you just resort right back to them saying, you know, okay, recognize this individual, if there's talking, it's not a public hearing, you can kind of calm that part down if you're having, you know, getting outside comments from whatever the topic is. You know, allowing each person to speak without being interrupted, because you usually can get more stuff done if you give them 2 minutes, they're going back and forth, losing train of thought. So
How would you do it to us? We can take off on some tangents pretty quickly, and we'll catch yourselves, but what would you do to?
My favorite part is just resorting back to the facts and realize that 99.9% of everything that is put in your council packet has been thought through by staff in depth for many hours, that those are the facts that need to be reviewed, and some decisions can't be made in the gray area, they have to stay black and white. And I think that's the easiest way, and I'm sure your legal, Jonathan, will tell you the same thing, is you kind of have to focus on what are you actually looking to approve that night? And then maybe those other items can be reviewed later, but there's certain items that have to maybe be approved in order.
One more follow-up. Packet accuracy, data accuracy, everything is accurate in the presentation in those things for us. That's what you're kind of saying too.
Yes, that is,
You're right.
and I don't like assumptions in packets. I think it needs to be the black and white, and that's kind of how I want the motions too, because you'll always get a staff recommendation from me. Sometimes you get some planning consultants or members that may, or an engineer consultant and be like, council to consider. I strive for my staff to always have a staff recommendation that has been fully thought out with no gray areas as much as possible. And that's why supporting staff usually is at those council meetings, and one of the city attorney, because we're talking or have talked through that item a long time before it made it to the council level.
Thank you.
The fourth question is, can you please describe your involvement in the budgeting and financial process of your organization, as well as your experience with long-range financial planning?
So with both city administrator positions, I have been the only person that has been responsible for finances. In 2019, actually started in 2020, we did hire finally a utility billing finance officer that has helped him, kind of do some of the data entry. But for the last 6 years in Long Lake and all the years in Clarkfield, I was the budgeting. So with that, I did bring in obviously the department heads, and to let them understand their budgeting limits too, because they usually are the experts inside. Because in your line items, you have your department, your line items underneath that maybe I didn't foresee. Perfect example would be water main break. On average, I may have only budgeted for 4, but we've always had 6 or 8. Those are large impacts to your budgets. They're not cheap when they actually do happen. So having some of the department involved with their own line items has actually brought accountability to them as much as myself and the council. So for many years, I knew where every dollar was, and we moved in and moved out, and I was also the accountant. So when you have a small staff like that, I'm helping do the receipts. Any outgoing bills, my name's on every check, so it has helped keep everybody in line a little bit too, so without overspending.
Very good. Specifically, what would you propose to help the city implement its vision?
That's a tough one. You guys have been doing so much work over the last 5 years. You've done a lot of policy updates, your code updates. For me to come in and tell you that you need to implement something would be very difficult. It'd take me some time to get a better grasp of what that vision is, because the way that you guys have gone about it has been very strong to where I don't know if I could give you an example right off of day one. I would want to continue to see if the council's vision is what it is now, because some of the stuff could have been written many years prior to you. Is that still what you feel? So maybe that's what I would really start with. I saw that annually you go through your goal setting and visioning, and it's been up to date. So that'd be very hard for me to implement anything until I actually had a good idea where you guys stand.
Okay, question 6 is, describe a time you made a mistake at work. How did you deal with the situation, and what was the outcome?
So it's kind of a mistake, but kind of how my thought process. The EDA was getting complaints, or the city council was getting complaints about the old BP station on the corner. If you know where Mound Lake is, there is a gas station there that was abandoned for 10 years, and the building just sat there. The EDA was very adamant about purchasing it, and my my position, risk versus reward, was you don't know what you're getting into with an old gas station site. Sure, the dollar amount might not look nice as a sale price, but you don't know what your mitigation stuff is. So ultimately, I was not in favor of the EDA purchasing it, but they decided to purchase it anyways. And for that mistake was me maybe not being as supportive as maybe I should have with the risk that was there, you know. Again, John Thames is our city attorney too, so him and I have talked about it many times, and, you know, we did get very good pricing on the mitigation. It was a lot less extensive than I thought it was going to be because I heard a lot of, you know, what it used to be and the impact it could have. So, it's sitting empty now, it's a clear site, we have, you know, we have developers interested in it, so that part is very winning for the EDA, but it was a little, just didn't want to put risk in front of the council and or the EDA with a site like that. So, yes, I think that was one of my little downfalls when it came to not being supportive of something.
Did that create an issue? How did you overcome it?
No, because it did at the beginning, because it took a couple meetings, and at that time, we stepped through it a little bit more. You know, we weren't going to buy it until we could get some better soil drillings and just kind of at certain locations, and once that kind of got through, then my non-support became supportive, because we went through the process of making sure we weren't buying something that you didn't know was underneath. I mean, it came with 11 pages of deed restrictions, and I couldn't do anything with the property. I can't make it a park, I can't do this stuff. Some of the deed restrictions don't fall off until, it was something like, the youngest child of President Bush's dies. So they're his kids. So the youngest child of his would have to pass away before those deed restrictions fell off. So like, when you start reading through this, you're like, what are we doing? And that's where my risk was not supportive until we kind of went through the full process. So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a situation why you would quit the current president.
Yeah, that's.
That's funny, because it was such a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's deep. It was because it follow, like, they have so many years of responsibility that they have to pay to that petro fund that is for mitigations.
Yeah.
Because then because I went from,
underground tanks and all.
yeah,
that
so I
stuff,
think,
you know.
I think it was BP put in restrictions, Croy Oil bought the property with the restrictions, now Long Lake has the restrictions, but then I'm gonna sell it with those restrictions, right? So I mean, some stuff fell off the time, some stuff will not fall off, so, yes, it's a, again, risk
Yeah.
reduction thing for
That's
the
interesting.
previous owner, yes.
Please describe your leadership and management style.
So I like to lead by example. I put quite a bit of high expectations on myself, and I like to fulfill my expectations. My leadership style, though, is ultimately I trust the department heads and their staff. There's no reason not to. Like going back to the strong staff here, like it is a very strong staff. But and even in my community, everybody has a say. You know, maintenance worker 1 to department heads of the public works department or fire chief. Like, I like to bring policies and anything that looks like it's going to impact them or the city on the table. You know, like we had going through our employee handbook. And I said, here's a copy of what don't you like about it. It hasn't been updated in a long time. And so everybody got one, so they did all their red lines, and so we're trying to work through that. Because some spots impact public works only, and some spots are administration. So it's, some stuff doesn't even fit together at all anymore. So I want everybody to contribute, and ultimately it will be me voicing the opinion of the community, or not community, of the employees to the council, but we all got together and helped make that decision, and we're all going to stand by that motion that I'm going to expect to be on there.
That hair's never gonna grow back, you keep rubbing it like that, yeah. All right, I'm sorry. I believe I'm on question 17. They're doing this right, okay?
Yep, that's
It's
the right
actually a
one.
question.
We lost track last time on the last one, so.
Oh, sure.
We're jumping around, but essentially we are in question number 8. During your short visit, your research of our community, what are you most excited about, Scott?
So, there's parts of that, right? Because I live here, but I'm also want to, as an employee, there are kind of different things. Like, I'm very excited about the opportunities that lie ahead on the public services that can be provided. You're looking through your utilities, and I can tell you right now that I love water to my house. My well water is garbage, right? So I love the idea of the growing out of this stuff. And I know it's going to cost me more money with all that stuff, but it's going to be way better. You have been, sitting at the table for your district and talks related to fire. You've done studies related to a fire service look. You have 3 fire department or three providers of fire service. The growth of Corcoran is different than other communities. Your old community that is getting the newer up-to-date infrastructure, buildings, et cetera, that can be more efficient, that has some cost savings in it. I'm replacing roads and infrastructure that date back to the 40s that were clay pipe and had 6-foot connections that are blowing apart every day. You're gonna have some newer, best technology when you put that stuff in. Even this expansion or the remodel of City Hall, like, I haven't been in here since it was remodeled, but it's beautiful, and you guys did a really good job. But more than likely, you're gonna grow within 5 years, so there's that excites me too, of being part of what services we can provide. Is there anything that we haven't thought about that could be a revenue generator that's not tax-based related? And ultimately, that's, try to get everything to the citizens at a reasonable price that that makes them happy. And I think we're in a position to do that. But we have to, I moved to Corcoran for the larger lots. You guys are going through the policy changes that show that we want to maintain Corcoran as it is, or as much as you can, right? I mean, I have ducks and geese in my backyard, and I kind of want to maintain that. And I think there's a lot of people that love and live in this area for that reason. So, the way you guys have been going about your 2040 comp plan, you've been doing your comp amendments, it's focusing the growth where it needs to go, controlling as best as you can, because the market's kind of dictating, but, I want to protect the people that are still here, or are here, and as much as the staff too.
Thank you.
Okay, now I feel like the same how long this will, I'm jumping
You're
around.
doing the best.
Where are we at?
I never felt senile. You labeled me senile.
I think 9.
Number 9 is where you're
All
at.
right, thank you.
Hmm.
In the development process, how will you ensure that all the terms of the development agreement are fulfilled?
Oh, let me tell you the story. No. Biggest thing is with your engineering estimates and your planning estimates that you hold in escrow. That is one thing I can tell you that I've been running into is that things change, things kind of slow down, and if you don't have the money in escrow to complete the project or complete the public improvements, it can really blow up. It can really derail any development that you're looking for. I'm not used to these big, large-scale ones that you guys are going through right now, but my small ones that I've had right now, you just need to make sure you have enough cash on hand to complete some of those things. And it should not be the tax base that fixes other people's problems. I think the escrow is the most thing you can do. It keeps them coming to the table when you know you're holding the money. So that's just my personal experience, because I've had some really bad ones.
Describe your experience working collaboratively with other units of government or organizations. Describe how building these types of relationships benefited the community or organization that you work for.
So you probably are aware that County Road 12 used to go through the city of Long Lake. Now it is County Road 112. The state of Minnesota turned back that road to Hennepin County when they bypassed the city. 2017, I think, is when we started that project. We were in partnership with Hennepin County and Orono to reconstruct that road, make it more of a, if you remember how they bank roads on high-speed roads, then we have to bring it down, flatten it out, restructure it, put some better utilities in, because that's another thing is, we were able to do our utilities in there, so that's why we quite a bit of money tied up into that project. Because not very often can you dig up a Hennepin County road, but, so we implemented a bunch of new connections, updated their connections. That has been a long process, so there was, committees on the planning side of what it's gonna look like, there's engineering, committees on related to the construction. I was on kind of both of those, starting in 2015, I think, we started some of those committees. So, I had a working relationship with the engineers at Hennepin County that were helping us design this project. Sometimes you could tell that they were not in it for the community. One of the examples was if you've been through town, they originally wanted the trail on the south side of the road. It ended up costing the city like another $100,000 to redesign it to go on the north side of the road so it'd go along the lake. But that was an engineering thing from the county. It was not listening to the residents, and ultimately the trail ends up getting turned in. It is a city trail, so we're now responsible for maintenance of it. So we wanted it where it would be, beautification of downtown and commuting, pedestrian walkability to the businesses once you get off of wood rail and all those other kind of the ways that aside, and all the way down to, it will connect into Highway 6 on the Orono side all the way around. So, yeah, I mean, I had many years tied up in Hennepin County meetings, and little did I know, knowing what I know now, you have to read those Hennepin County agreements pretty closely, because there's some weird stuff in there that they put in there. So, for future reference, if you ever review them, look for the weird stuff.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Can you talk about times you've challenged or didn't collaborate with other units of government? Like in our town, we've got Hennepin County or Met Council or,
I tend to question, I don't know if I want to say challenge, I tend to question to prove facts, right? So, Met Council is always the toughest one to try to get any validation out of. So, we have 12 interconnect agreements with the city of Orono for water and sewer. So, the problem with that is that some areas are metered and some areas are not metered, and I've been trying for 5 years to get them to come out and giving you realistic expectations related to their flow, Orono's flow into our lines, which then hits Met Council, and I'm not getting any support from them. The only thing I have right now is a little bit of, I would say, negotiation power with Orono related to the fire department, and that you kind of maybe picked up on some of that in some of those meetings, but we're trying to get these 12 agreements that are in perpetuity into a new agreement, because we're subsidizing Orono residents related to their sewer flow. So it's very hard to have Met Council support things related to their sewer because they need the connection. So we're kind of doing it on our own. We're going to get those lines, those mains metered. That's the goal. So now I don't have to worry about the other 12. I can just do one simple agreement. And so then Met Council will hopefully have a better explanation on when my council asks them why is their flow so high, why is my dollar amount so high, that they will be able to do that. Another one, actually the other day, Mound Fire. We had a fire in Orono down at the Marina, sorry. They came and helped mutual aid. Well, they came back, they had to use foam on one of their trucks, right? They came back and invoiced the city of Long Lake for $450. Little did I know that apparently in 2003, there was a Hennepin County mutual agreement signed that cities can charge back items that have been used during a mutual aid call. the first one I've had in 7, 8 years, and all of a sudden I questioned why was I getting an invoice? Was this something new, or is this something now related to the Orono, whatever that's happening, right? So they gave me the documentation, I'm like, all right, send it through, you know, because I don't want to just pay bills, and that just makes mutual aid question a little bit on, we've had this conversation before, it's like, well, who do you put in your call box? The person that's going to charge you or not charge you, and how far they're coming from, and all this other stuff, so I just wanted to make sure that we were getting charged accordingly, and that's a little, I kind of pushed back on the whole thing like that.
I just did,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you're on 11.
11.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Question 11 is, describe how you would become involved in the Corcoran community.
The one thing I have not done is that, so I was thinking about all the things that I have done. You know, I've been to the Hamlet Rodeo probably a dozen times, or half a dozen times, almost every year since I've been here. I get my family to come down and do some of this stuff because I'm like, it's awesome. Crazy Days, last year, my uncle and cousin, I think, won money during the beanbag tournament. So, you know what I mean? Like, they were doing that while I had my son watching the monster truck. So, like,
Wait, what place did they take?
I thought they were first or second.
Yeah.
I was
I
trying.
don't like those
I was trying to look back on the website that they had it listing like the winners because like, oh, but no, they have first. I know they
guys.
made.
We were in it, I think we took second or third.
So they were Cannon Country. That was their name. It was
better.
Cannon Country.
They were really, really
Yeah.
There's a couple people that were really good.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. Like, did the finals go down to a multiple game playoff or something? I don't remember. But.
I've tried to put it out.
Yeah. Let's see. So
Rodeo, Country Days.
Country Days. Went to see Santa at the Laredo Fire Department this winter. Took my son and daughter there. He's 3.5, and my daughter's 7 months. So they both go to step by step right down here. You know, so the one thing I haven't done was thought about being a lion. You know, being in the community. You know, I don't know if they're recruiting or you know.
They're always recruiting.
Always look for
I
it.
figure there always are. I don't want to be the guy like, hey, can I join you? You know, like.
They-
They need
You'd be
people.
surprised how quick.
So that is one thing I was interested in, you know, because I have not been able to do that yet, you know, and once the kids get a little bit older, it'll be a little bit easier to have a little bit more free time, I would like to think, but,
It doesn't change. They'll rule you forever.
yeah, I don't think I've been to the Henry County Fair yet, so that could be another one I can maybe.
Sorry, Hennepin.
Yeah, next week night, you know, the neighborhood used to have, you know, before COVID, all the stuff we always had in our neighborhood, so I never thought about joining that because it's right there, you know, so, yeah, you know, the big parties that we've been having at the Public Works, I've gone to those many times, like, and I still remember talking to Woody Harrelson for like 5 minutes one time, so, you know, just little things like that. I'm in the community, but I don't have my name on anything. I don't have, like I said, a line membership or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know what else. I mean, what am I missing? I guess what else has been going on that I may have missed?
Ever been to the station?
Did you see me there is a question?
I may or may not have attended there numerous times over the.
Me either.
It's a great one.
No, I love the station. Actually, you know, and that is the hard part for me too a little bit because I want to continue to support the local communities and you know, much as everybody else is. I don't get to fly underneath the radar anymore if I get this position, you know what? And so, yes, I have been to the station many times.
Good.
I bring my family there, you know, pull tabs, meat raffle, I mean, beanbag tournament, that's another one they took money in. Just letting you know, so. So, yes.
Provide an example of how you have been a change agent in your organization.
Long term, it's finally kind of working. So since 2014, I've been obviously in Long Lake. Been explaining to the council that they're losing money and they don't agree that we are because they think it's creative financing and accounting, even though their accountant has also told them, firm, that they're losing money. They are losing money in their sewer fund. As of today, they're losing $150,000 to $200,000 a year in just cash, not depreciation. So that means we're not charging enough on our fixed cost, we're not charging enough on our variable usage. And I'm getting them to realize, this new council that has started to understand where we are going, if they want the roads to be improved, that they have to start raising rates. Last year, we implemented the franchise fees. I know that you guys already have the franchise fees in place, but we've been designating the franchise fees to pavement management, which is, we made the resolution just as service improvements only. Sometimes kind of storms can be qualified in there. But, so now, if I have my pavement management fund being funded at the franchise fee level, I can get my rates increased in my sewer fund. I'm gonna be able to maybe finally do full recon roads. But we've been,
I don't think we have.
Not
we have it on one of them, I can see it, but I don't remember which one it is.
for, yeah,
Excel?
no, I don't think. I don't remember.
Was it Comcast?
It might be.
Maybe.
Comcast from the T.
There's a cable franchise fee.
Yeah, but it can't be for the internet.
Yeah. I just know there's one on it, but I can't promise you which bill it is. So ours are on, Excel and CenterPoint. I think those are the two that we have our franchise fees on. So it's a $7 a month pass through that the company, and then quarterly they pay us. That money goes to our payment management fund. I get the council to work towards coming up with a way to increase their funding levels of the sewer fund so we can actually do something. That one actually has an IOU of $200,000 right now. It actually went from like $500,000 or $800,000 down to $200,000 negative for the course of 6 years. What was the question? I started. Sorry.
Change agent.
Change it. Sorry, there we go. Okay. So now that we also hired that individual under utility bill. Now we've been able to focus heavily on changing things to where we can support the cash that is needed. So the council's changing their mind. It used to run on no taxes, no rate increases, is now coming around to where if they want the roads that they prefer and need, and they're gonna have to agree to look at these rates. So the changing agent part is they're finally getting them to realize they've been mismanaging money, and it's been staff that's been trying to lead them through this, but I've been told before that since I don't live in the community, I shouldn't have a voice on how much people should be paid. Because that kind of burns a little bit, I guess, when you're talking about how much time and dedication that have been coming into it, so, but, yes. And staff is actually very happy that the council's changing their mind and going that direction too, because they can actually get more stuff done. We were able to, with that ARPA money and some of the other federal money that came in, we did a sewer lining project that's going to also help with our INI through the council to reduce our monthly or our annual payment to that too. So they're actually moving into things. Sorry, that's real.
So we have about 15 minutes and 5 questions.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No,
I'll talk faster.
No, you're right on time.
You're doing
That is
well.
good. We
Very
are-
well.
You're
Okay.
right on track and right
Okay.
along here.
All right.
We are not a fan of creative accounting, so.
So that was, it's not, they want to be able to move money from
Yeah.
one fund to the other, and then anybody that's ever ran a business is not how you do it, right?
I'm probably I don't like surprises.
Yes. And it's really tough when your engineer and your accounting firm stand up and says you need to fix it, and they choose
Yep.
not to.
Yep. They think you have our support. I'm on number 13, right?
Yes.
In your current role, it says current or previous role, what was your most difficult decision you've had to make, and how did you come to that decision? Some of these may seem to be repeating yourself.
Yeah, I will go back, well, I'll just do a simple one from my previous role. I had a public works director that was an hourly employee. I put faith in my employees that they're doing and living by the expectations of the future. he would, on his time card, put from like 2 AM to 4 AM that he was researching items for whatever reason, right? Maybe, that's all I usually put is like research. I went against what normal, we don't punch time clocks, right? Most of you understand Public Works comes in at 7, leaves at 4:30, whatever hours they are. In the meantime, they're not punching time clocks, or they're not always to the minute what they're doing. It was not, I was pushing to implement the time clock. I got in the time clock put in, and they had to punch in and out throughout the day, because I could not support doing research in the middle of the night when I don't know what you're up to. Especially if you're gonna try getting overtime on Friday because you're doing research and you couldn't answer to what I was asking of you. So yes, on the employee side, it was not something that went over very well. And it was not that hard of a decision on my end, it just was something that was against the grain, and it was a behavioral correction kind of situation, and it was just something simple that didn't go over very well.
Simple but hard. Thank you.
Can you, this is number 14, can you describe a situation that you feel demonstrates your integrity and ethical standards?
So, I can't come up with one right off the top of my head, but one of the things that goes around City Hall quite often is just the word peer principle, right? Sometimes you do, I'm trying to think of what the example is, that sometimes you get contractors, sometimes you get salesmen, sometimes you get people that are being a little shady in my mind, and they're coming at you, trying to make you pay more money, etc., because they feel like they can. We've had a couple different vendors where I just choose not to do business with them anymore out of pure principle. That's not how our ethics of City of Long Lake are, when you are kind of going against what a real person would do. If you even want to tie to something with being a car dealer right now, charging above MSRP, it's frowned upon, right? So on my pure principle, on ethics, I just will not shop there. And we did that a couple different times over the course of years, just to make sure the people that we were dealing with are on the up and up.
Can I just follow up the clerk? Did you give them a chance to conform, adjust, express your concerns, and give an opportunity to correct?
Yes, every time I would say we did at least reach out and ask what was going on. More of it was not the single vendors that were the small guys, it was like Republic garbage haulers. Those are the ones that were coming, and then we took it.
I understand.
Okay.
Good, thanks.
If you were hired for this position and are still with the organization 5 years from now, how do you think the organization will be different?
If I was hired in Corcoran and oh geez, that's kind of what we were going down here a little bit. Do I think you'll have more staff? Absolutely. Do we think we may have a building or two? That's yet to be seen. I think, if the market continues as is, we're going to see a lot of different kind of growth, and you're going to have to adapt with whatever may come your way. Hiring our police officers comes with population. You're going to look at your contracts related to your water, maybe looking at grow, and even maybe fire service, depending on what their needs are going to be moving forward. Almost every single one of the fire stations, I think, need to be upgraded that are in your service area. So there's going to be probably some expense related to that. And rooftops bring people bring businesses. So I don't see any reason why this organization won't try keeping up with the demand to provide the best service to them.
Can I ask a follow-up related to that? So those are answers as to how the whoever we hire, we're gonna make those changes.
Yep.
So more in the spirit of how will the organization be different because you're now a part of it. And it's like your own What's your stamp gonna be on the organization?
It's gonna be
Over the
so
course of the
great
next 5
that
years.
year 6 you're gonna be a statue of me. No, I'm just kidding. No. No.
You gotta get in line, kid. We're trying to cast John and Brian.
One thing I would really like to explore is the operation of an EDA. I do feel that they have their purpose and they have support of their community if done right. Hutchinson has a huge EDA that you could take parts and pieces out of that. Long Lake and Clarkfield both had EDAs. One thing that we did learn in Long Lake though is you can control some of your development if you own the land. And if, I know that everyone's gonna say is we're not in the real estate business, et cetera, but when you have your comp plan, you have maybe some funding available, and you see a prime piece of property that could be available, you can change your vision a little bit and determine what you want to have on that property. If you don't like the project, you don't have to sell the land. So that could be something that I would be interested, my name would like to be on maybe the EDA to show that we did X over the course of time in that 5 years. Is it X?
All right. Question 16. What have you done in your current position or previous positions that made a significant difference to the organization and for which you believe you will be remembered?
I don't think I'm getting statues yet. I do feel if I was to leave Long Lake today, that tomorrow they're not going to say, oh my God, you made a gigantic change, but I think you would see that in year 5, or from now. You know what I mean? I think they're going to realize that they finally picked up on staff. I was, when they kept pushing and leading, et cetera, that they'll be able to look back on whether we, and you'll see that most time in your minutes, it's always the look back period of things that succeeded that year or multiple years following. But we'll try to think back to Clarkfield. It's been so many years ago, it's hard to remember, but I honestly feel like just the day-to-day operations of creating small things end up being a large item that you will see in hopefully throughout my career that I'll be able to hang my hat on.
So I have the most important question, grand hoopla question. Why should the Corcoran City Council select you as their next city administrator?
I honestly believe that I will probably be the hardest working person in your community, because I also have the responsibility of being the resident. I feel there's a little bit of value in having a resident that may come in that maybe does not have the time available to get a hold of one of the council members to voice their concern. And I think they're gonna have a little bit of respect for me that I do live in the community, I'm doing everything for them, I'm leading, the staff, getting the direction from the council. And just with all my knowledge of all the things I have done in the past, I'm gonna be a very, very solid individual to support the current staff that is awesome. I want to blend in, I want to support where is needed. I'm not the first one to come in and change things for Rob, follow me, let's go. I'm like, I'll keep being the leader, but I want the same respect that needs to be earned from the rest of the staff. I don't plan on going anywhere. I have young kids. I have many years left on my house to pay off, so I'm not jumping jobs. I have dedication. I've been in Long Lake for 8 years. The reason I moved to the Metro was actually when I was in Clarkfield. I started dating my girlfriend at the time. She lived in St. Louis Park for 2.5 years. We drove back and forth on the weekends, and you know, that's how I am looking to relocate to the metro, so. Yeah, I think Corcoran is a growing community, but at the same time, I feel like I can grow with it, but I will do everything I need to do related to the council, and I'll work my hardest.
Last question. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, that's the loaded one. No.
And be careful, because we get all kinds of.
That's even better. So, no, I guess, the one I kind of have is like Brad. I've known Brad for many years, and even though he wasn't a very big man, he has big shoes to fill. What are you guys looking for in the next administration?
You guys answer it. I answered the last one.
I'll take a stab at it. Everybody else can correct what I say. Brad did an excellent job of hiring and empowering capable people. And I see that as the best form of leadership because it is multiplicative. So I would like to see an administrator who has that same passion for developing the staff and giving them opportunities to shine. I feel like where somebody could add to what Brad did. I think resident interaction and feedback at times, especially when he was stressed, wasn't as easy to keep up with. And I feel like as the city grows and we have more activity, more things going on, that's going to get harder and harder to do well. So either personally or within how the staff is structured, prioritizing how we communicate to residents, especially when there's contentious issues, needs to be more of a priority.
I will say, we had, I had lunch, I was sitting across with Jason, another candidate, and I told him, you don't want to be the guy to replace the legend. You want to be the guy who replaces the guy who replaced the legend. And that's, I think in this case, Brad was very good, very successful, did a lot of good things. I grew to like him as a man and a friend. And I'm looking, yeah, I guess I'm not looking for Brad 2.0 at all. And so I'm very curious about some of it. I will say that this is challenging, and I think in my mind, I'm looking for the right human being, because this organization is tight and is full of amazing human beings first and talented people second. So like the skill set is almost secondary to the person. Because there's a different, we sort of have skimmed via skill set. So the right person is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I would say too, I like Brad a lot. I think he did a great job. I'm not looking for the next Brad. I'm looking for the guy that's going to say, I wish Brad was more like he is or she is.
I agree with what you all said. I think another thing that Brad did well that I'm looking for is someone who's able to kind of wear a lot of hats, just because as we're growing, where the roles that you have might in 1 year be very different from what it is in 3 years and in 5 years. I think Brad had to do a lot of that in terms of what stuff he was day-to-day in charge of, and then we had staff and group, it's a different kind of set of roles that he has, so
And I respect everything you said, because that's exactly how I feel this organization has been put together by what Brad has brought I knew Matt back in college, you know, and he called me one day, like, what do you think of Corcoran? Like, I like Corcoran, because I know Brad, you know what I mean? And long story short, he ends up, you know, being police chief, you know what I mean? So, and then even going back to Brad as a friend, like, he was the one that gravity too, when we go to the conferences, like, he's just part of the clique, you know what I mean? Like, he's a really great guy, so, I understand when you talk about the character that you're looking for when related to being part of something that maybe that sort of skill set. So.
I agree with everything said. I want to make sure though, as part of being that human being, you just connect and take care of yourself. Balance, life balance, you've got kids, significant other, those kind of things. You need to make sure that happens also.
Understand.
I've seen people in roles like this are over the top and things fall apart personally. I want you to understand, I believe personal time is extremely important.
That's good to hear. You know, not everybody. There's a lot of, you know, because you guys work your 8 to 5, you know, and then we work our 8 to 5, but then there's still work after work when council show up or whatever, you know what I mean? So yes, I do like hearing that the work balance, life balance is very important, you know, because you don't always get that, you know, because there's pressing issues or et cetera. So that's very good to hear.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
very much.
if you guys get bored today, you definitely reach out to Brad.
Recording stopped.
James, or any of those other guys that, you know, for more references. Thank you very much.